it's just a historically bad rushing attack, and it's the worst in the Power 4. It's the second worst in the FBS, and for something that to be thought a strength that is such a weakness, there was either a major misevaluation here by the coaching staff, or I mean, I don't even know. I mean, you
Or what
can't.
if they misevaluated the staff? Let's start there.
But it's like you had all these guys before, and you didn't look nearly as bad in 2022 or 2023. So like the regression.
But let's just cut off there. They had Jordan Travis, who cleaned up a lot of these issues,
and Trey Benson,
and Trey Benson, who was a broken tackle machine. I mean,
the machine.
So like they were hiding a lot of these issues, and we talked about this last year, where I was like, I don't love how the offensive line is looking. They're not getting their counter assignments right. I didn't think it would be this bad, but the signs of it were there last year. The signs of regression were there, and we somehow underrated how good Trey Benson and Jordan Travis were. I didn't think it was possible to do that, but we did.
Yeah, I didn't think it would be this bad. I mean, it's historically bad, and it just makes no sense when you have all this experience, and obviously Atkins and Norvell here hand in hand in year 5, and there's nothing really. It's kind of unfathomable how bad it has been for Florida State, and there's no really one clear way for it to get better, because it's the entire offensive line that is making mistakes at the moment. And then you talk about wanting to break some of these long gains. That comes down to not just your offensive line, but what are your tight ends doing in the blocking game, which FSU obviously has struggled there. Warlock and Brian Courtney haven't been very good, and Amari and Landon have to learn, and they're going to take some lumps there before they get there. And receivers, the blocking game outside has, been horrid. So just around the entire offense, when you're talking about having a successful running attack, you need all of those guys to chip in. But yeah, the offensive line definitely the worst part of that combination by far.
Like you said, it's bad blocking everywhere. Inside, outside line, fucking wide receivers, tight ends. It's just awful. And like we're seeing the signs of the relapse of not having Trey Benson out there to get away from tackles. And then also Jordan Travis, who, like someone here in the comments saying, was an absolute magician for Florida State the last few years. And, you put in Cam Davis, who is going to be the guy that's going to be your most physical back, but you brought in Roydell Williams. He can't get off one tackle to save his life. And then Lawrence Toafili isn't that kind of running back. He was never supposed to be that. You're going to be your guy that can, get him in space and put moves on guys, but it's just he's not going to be your physical back. Definitely with an offensive line this bad. That's what I got to keep on saying. With the offensive line that's at this case, not like another program where there's a decent offensive line. This is a horrid offensive line. So you just kind of match that with your personnel, and it doesn't fit well. So they got to figure. They're not going to be able to figure it out this year, but there has to be some kind of talk and some offices on what to do moving forward, in my opinion.
Let me just continue to give context to how bad this rushing game is.
Please
grab another beer.
Lawrence Toafili has 230 rushing yards for the season. 151 are after contact. Cam Davis has 68 rushing yards. 64 are after contact. Roydell Williams has 54 yards rushing. 46 are after contact. And then there's DJ Uyunglele, who has -8 yards rushing for the season. 72 rushing yards after contact. I don't even know how that's possible. But this run game's there's no holes. The defense is getting through constantly. And Norvell's kind of just beating his head on a brick wall saying it's going to happen, it's going to happen, it's going to happen. And it's just not happening.
But the problem is, it's like if you turn to some of these young guys, you risk it getting even worse for Brock back there and potentially getting him injured. It kind of says a lot that this is what FSU is rolling with week after week. Instead of turning to some of these other young guys, they're just probably not ready at this moment. I think Otto is the farthest along, and Jalen Early, obviously, but he's the farthest along when you're thinking about Lucas Simmons and Julian Armella and, even some of those other young guys on the team. Like those are the two guys that are the most ready, which, is also an indictment on the coaching staff for development. And so it's a failure on all fronts for Florida State, and there's no real clear way to fix it, because it's not like I was saying, it's not like a tight end or a wide receiver you can just throw a young guy out there, because the offensive line, it matters so much when you're talking about protecting your quarterback. So you got to be smart with kind of how you navigate this situation.